Hello and welcome to ComSpark Magazine interview series. I am Tim Hollingsworth with the Head Technologies, and we are partnering with ComSpark Magazine in a series of interviews. Today, I have the pleasure of talking to Vandhana Veerni, Chief Information Officer of Columbus City Schools. I've known you for a while, Vandhana, so can you maybe tell us a little bit more about yourself and your career path?
Absolutely. Good morning, Tim. Nice to see you again. A little bit about myself. I moved here from India 23 years ago. And, I won't tell you how old I was, that you'll quickly age me. And I've been in Columbus all my time in the United States. We moved here 2 weeks within moving to the United States, and we loved it here. We have stayed here. So we grew our family here and my career, so to speak. I started my career here with what was CompuServe, AOL.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I say it with pride that I've worked for every major organization in Columbus. I started with Columbus City Schools in November 2019, and within 3 months, we hit the pandemic. So I would never know what was normal before that.
Right,
but that's
right.
okay. That's okay. It is very satisfying to be helping our 50,000 students. So it's okay. So I'm having fun here. From education background, I did my master's in computer applications in India before I moved here, and I picked up a couple of, ITIL certifications and other certifications along the way. But to me, those are just pieces of paper. What really speaks for you is the passion you bring to your job and the service you do for the community.
Right. Maybe tell us a little bit more about Columbus City Schools and maybe the challenges you're taking on in the industry there.
Absolutely. So I was brand new to K-12. So I was very fortunate. They considered me for the role and offered me the position. So when I was taking the role, I first wanted to find out what the gaps were. So Columbus City Schools, as you know, has been here for 176 years now. We celebrated 175 years last year. Yes, it's an institution.
Right.
Used to be called Columbus Public Schools. So a lot of people still call us Columbus Public Schools, but we are Columbus City Schools. And it is an amazing institution, right? We at some point, our peak student enrollment was 100,000. We are now trending at 50,000, and we are the largest school district in Ohio, and one of the top 75 urban city schools in the country. So both Dr. Dixon, our superintendent, and my goal was to put technology in Columbus City Schools on the national scene, and our goal is to put Columbus City Schools on the national scene. And we have done that in just under 2 years, in so many ways than one. Like other city districts look to us for some of the processes we have implemented. So if you look at challenges, right, like any urban city school district, we have a big economic disparity, right? If you take we run 200 square miles within the city of Columbus. So we have Clintonville schools, and then we have schools in the far south side and the far east side and Hilltop. So we have a diaspora of economic disparity. And with that comes multiple challenges, right? And parents were challenged enough in the pandemic. They had to put food on the table, they had to be at work, we were in lockdown. And on top of that, they were to engage their students in virtual learning. So we try to support our parents as much as we can, because we want our students to come virtually or in person and continue to learn. We didn't want them to stop learning. We wanted to accommodate for learning loss. So that meant initially just devices, right? Giving them devices and internet access. But we also have, since then, benchmarked the software they'll be using online, and we are continuously improving how we streamline our distribution process to our students. Of course, these are students. There will be repairs and replacements, lost and stolen. So that's always a challenge. How do you stock up enough so that, the student is not without a device, yet you're not letting your inventory age? So there's always challenges, right? And I was just telling somebody today, we were starting a new initiative, and they're like, oh, we have so much to do. I said, we'll always have mountains to move. We will
Right.
always have mountains to move, and everybody
Right.
does in this pandemic. So let's keep moving. We'll add to our mountains and peaks, and we will keep charting new course. So that's where we are.
Right. So who or what inspired you to get into a career in technology?
There were two men in my life that I'll blame them for this. I actually want to thank them. They're my muses and my biggest inspiration. That's my dad and my husband, who was then my boyfriend. I wanted to have a career. I did my bachelor's in computer science, but I wanted to go into industrial relations and personnel management. My passion is people, and I thought I would be best at that, bringing that policies, processes, personal relations into an organization.
Right.
So it was a very competitive process to get into a master's there in India. It was a men's college, so there are like 6 seats for women. And I went through multiple layers of interviews, group discussions, written tests, and I got into that program. And I bring home the good news, and my dad and my husband, like I said, he was my boyfriend at the time, and they were standing in our porch and they were having a discussion. I walk in and say, I got it. And immediately my dad picks up a broom and starts sweeping the floors. He says, if you do a master's in social work, this is how you will be sweeping off, grievances and things. And they said, why don't you try for your master's in computer applications? They had just started the program in the university. And I said, okay, if you guys say so, I'm going to go try it. And then I went to the entrance exam. It was a 3-hour test, like competitive exams like GMAT and stuff, right? So we had that for this computer applications program. And I finished it in half hour. It was in my college, so the principal knew me well. And she was like, how come you finished a 3-hour test in 30 minutes? And I said, well, really, I'm not interested. I'm doing this because, these 2 men I care about told me this is a good choice. So I'm sorry about that. And here you go. And then guess what? I stood first. So now I had no excuse or no fallback plan. I had to go do it. But once I did it, this was a comprehensive course. It was a master in computer applications, not just computer science. So I had to learn economics, operational algorithms, theorems, operational theory, and I had to learn organizational behavior. So I was hooked. I said, I can still have people as my passion. I can still lead, but it'll be in technology. So once I put my foot in, there was no looking back. But yeah, those 2 men did it to me.
Right. So now who do you look for? You've met a lot of people. So who do you look for advice and inspiration?
Absolutely. I've built carefully a council of elders. Some people call them their personal board of directors. I call them a council of elders. There's Ray Harishankar. He's a fellow at IBM. Jim Lauder. I have friends like you and Jim Burden. I come for advice sometimes. But I picked my council of elders. And by elders, I don't mean just by age, right? By experience and what they've done. And so whenever I'm in a crisis, either at work, trying to make a decision, that may not be well received, but has to be done, or my career, right, in technology, where do I want to go? What do I want to be? I always go to this council of elders and ask them for advice. Like there's David White from Battelle, there's Jim Lauder from Ohio Health, people I've worked with, I respect. I always go back to them here.
Right. I have always an interesting question. My next one, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your 25-year-old self?
Slow down.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely. I was 15 when I said, by 30, I will be a manager at something. And so by 30 at BWC, I was manager of this team of 11, white men, a woman, colored, not from this country. I had to take charge and lead 11 white men. And that's okay. They were amazing. It was a great team. It was a great learning experience. So at 30, I hit manager. Now I said, what? Now what? Now what? Right? So I said, by 40, I need to be a CIO somewhere. And then at 35, I hit that. I was CIO of Ohio EPA. So now I go, boy, I've done that 5 years ahead of my schedule. Now what do I do?
Right.
That's when I said, okay, done my stock at the state of Ohio. All this was at the state of Ohio, and very grateful for the opportunities the state provided me. And then I said, let me take this outside and see how well it works. And that's when I went to Ohio Health, and that's where I met people like you, friends like you. So I wanted to see in a private enterprise how my skills would stretch, right? Because thus far, my entire leadership skills was in the state of Ohio. And, talk about change. EPA it's mission critical. We all have to breathe this air and drink this water, yet, right? One day, a server being down is not going to be the end of the world.
Right.
From there, I go to Ohio Health and lead infrastructure and operations and the data center. One server down is literally life and death. It's not a cliche. It's literally life and death. And that was amazing learning experience. Then, that's how I built my career. And then I was at Battelle, and that's what David White told me. I told him, I'm done being CIO. Everybody here aspires to be a CIO. I'm done. I'm just going to, do what I can do well and move on. He said, don't ever give up aspirations like that.
Right.
So you got to continue to aspire to grow and give back more. So that here I am.
Well, congratulations. You've done a lot. Well, that's the end of my questions. I want to thank Vandhana for joining me today. And please visit comspark.tech for any additional interviews. It's great seeing you again, Vandhana.
Same here, Tim. Thank you so much.
You bet.